Hi, I'm Simon. I'm 27 years old and I graduated in 2013 from Architectural School of Athens, which is almost 3 years ago. I now live in London, UK, studying in Central St. Martin's and attending the MA course Narrative Environments, which is a related to architecture course. I do not live or earn any money as an architect or doing architecture, at least in a way I was taught architecture should be practiced. After trying unsuccessfully to do architecture in Athens during the economic crisis, I mostly do curating, which has its roots to architecture. Curating information or curating data, either these constitute artworks in an exhibition or pieces of an installation in the display, creates a dialogue, creates a web by weaving links and relationships between these elements, these objects, which in its turn creates space in a Heideggerian way where a sculpture occupies not only the intangible, visible space that its body and its volume occupies, but the space that surrounds it as well, or as Walter Benjamin said in other way, with other words, its aura. So I orchestrate spaces between objects, and I guess as long as spaces can be produced or rearranged through the repositioning of objects, either in the physical or in the digital environment, architecture will always find a way to slip through this cranny and reinvent the architectural epistemology and methodology. In my hybrid unidentified design field of curating, one could claim that architecture is all these continuously variable links between objects and people, these relationships as structures that can be translated into space between objects or people that are orchestrated by an architect or a curator or a cure-architect or a cure-artist, whatever.
I am Achilleas. I'm 26 years old and I live in Athens. I graduated last year from the Architectural School of the National Technical University of Athens. The special and difficult economic condition that Greece is facing during the last 7 years has a direct impact onto the architectural production of the country. Considering this as a dead space, a dead period regarding architecture in Greece, I decided to do my military service just after the graduation. So, for the time being, I do not work as an architect, and far more, I do not live by my profession. However, whenever possible, I do participate on architectural competitions, exhibitions, and other architectural events, while also preparing my portfolio. Architecture for me is the conversation between human and space. Uh, it is a way that humans intervene with nature. For architecture to exist, though, there has to be a construction, a physical object, something tangible. Thought, synthesis, the brain process is half of the whole process. The other half is the act of construction, the object, the edited space. Architecture is complete only when it interacts with real life. For me, materiality is a key factor in architecture. In this way, competitions and other similar projects that remain on the design level cannot substitute the real life architecture, the architecture in practice. Personally, I'm not so optimistic about the future of architecture in Greece in the following years. For this reason, I have already started searching for opportunities abroad.
Hi, I am Dimitra. I live in Athens. I graduated from the National Technical University of Athens in 2012. I don't work as an architect at all, and I have never worked as an architect. I don't earn any money from architecture, and generally I don't earn any money. Actually, I work as a painter independently, and this year I started studying in the Athens School of Fine Arts, which can be an important step if you want to be actually a painter. For me, architecture is more of an idea in the way we conceive and understand the physical world around us, and not only the buildings. In my work, architecture does not exist, of course, as architecture, but in a way, when you have to conceive and structure a painting, there's an architecture, I think, in it. And of course, art is very related to architecture in many ways. The most important thing that I learned in the School of Architecture is the discipline you have to maintain in the way you work, and the specific way of thinking. It changes the whole conception you have of the visual world. Architecture can be, of course, even in nature. I think inspiration is in everything and everywhere. Bye!
My name is Dimitris Venizelos and I am 28 years old. I graduated from the National Technical University of Athens in 2013 and I received a Master of Architecture in Urban Design in 2015 from Harvard University. I currently live in New York and I am employed as an urban designer in a large design firm. I would use the term design instead of architecture to describe more precisely the scope of my work in the company. And I'm saying this to make a distinction between a traditional understanding of architecture as a single author creative process of an artifact versus what I am participating in, which is a multi-authored process that is in parts only design, but in other parts it is a financial activity, a profit-making enterprise, a public policy, if we're talking about the city or urbanization and so on. In this enterprise, of course, the designer is only one interested party, and there are many others. Exactly because a project is expected to perform in all these levels, I think architecture is becoming a gray zone where you engage with spatial design, but you also have to take in consideration all these other components. In that respect, the toolkit of the architect does not contain only drawings, but it also includes policy making, financial projections, economic planning, branding, programming, all sorts of analysis that traditionally belong to other disciplines. I don't believe there is or there could be a definition of what architecture is or should be, so I will not attempt to give one. However, the methodology of synthesis that is at the core of the architectural training, I find that it is extremely relevant for any creative process, and of course for design. Therefore, as a designer, I remain an architect in principle.
Hi, my name is Irene and I am 28 years old. I graduated from the National Technical University of Athens in 2012 from the School of Architecture. 1 year later, I decided to leave Greece to follow the Building Physics and Services Master course in Eindhoven University of Technology in the Netherlands. I left Greece the period that more or less the crisis started to aggravate, but this has not been the main reason of me leaving. It is, however, one of the main reasons I am still abroad. I perceive architecture as an integral field of practice, as a combination of multiple areas of expertise to take under consideration when designing. I believe that form has to be aligned with socially and environmentally sustainable designing, because we live in a built environment which is saturated, which is energy consuming, and it seems that climate change, it is about to create population of refugees in search of more vital urban environments. My field of expertise beyond architecture is energy efficient designing. I have strong interest in adaptation and transformation of existing buildings as a sustainable practice to intervene in the built environment. Currently, I work in an architectural office called Urban Climate Architects, where I mainly deal with renovations, extensions, transformations of existing buildings, which is something I enjoy because I believe that after all, the greenest building is the one that is already built.
Hi Greek Pavilion, this is Ilias Karniaris, speaking from Berlin, Germany. I graduated from the Department of Architecture of the University of Thessaly last April in 2015. On my last year of studies, I had the very good luck to do a very enjoyable diploma thesis that under the title Disgrace sought to redefine the way the Acropolis was being perceived in the Athenian urban complex. And after this thesis, there was not enough space for me and the Acropolis in Athens. We couldn't coexist in the same city, so I had to leave and I moved to Berlin. The initial reason to move to Berlin was an internship in a publishing house called Ruby Press. They make books about architecture and urbanism, so there's a loose connection to architecture in this internship. This internship was over last October, and since then I haven't done pretty much anything architectural. In Berlin I came out as an artist. Although my artwork is not architectural at all, and I'm not myself interested in the creation of space, in architecture, let's say in a traditional way, I really think that my architectural background has helped me a lot, because it offered me a really well-structured way to approach and develop my ideas and my projects. I make a living through random part-time jobs and social benefits. I'm very happy with my decision to leave Greece, and although I know that the right thing to say is stay back and try to make a good thing out of all this mess, I would still suggest any new architect or whatever of my age to do the same as I did.
I am Irina, I am 27 years old and I live in Greece. I have studied architecture in the Architectural School of Athens and I graduated from it almost 2 years ago in November 2014. Since then I live in Agrinio, which is a city in the west side of Greece, and I practice architecture in the office that I kind of inherited from my father. He was an architect too. In the office I am collaborating with my two uncles. One is an accountant and the other one is a mechanical engineer. Here we have projects considering this construction, reconstruction, interior design, and the conduction of files considering the authorization of certain kind of businesses. The way I consider architecture to be present is everywhere. Architecture to me is man under the light, is how you cast your shadow. And I reflect my theory, the way, my aspect of it, when I design, mainly considering the light and the sun, of course. How big you want your windows to be, or how small, and what you put next to them, how you place your building. To me, that is everything. Even how you put, where you place a chair, and the shadow it casts, and that's the way that I design things, considering what I want to see when the light comes in. Do I want it near the entrance or not? And what colors do I have there? What colors do I want there to be? As we know, black absorbs light and white reflects it. And that is kind of the way that I design things. Of course, in Greece, architecture is a kind of luxury. And although I earn my living from it, it's not a profession that you can feel economically safe, financially safe in a way. There are many obstacles, but we insist on it and time will tell.
Hello there, my name is Martina Throunglopoulou, I'm 29 years old and I live in Athens. I finished architecture in 2012 in National Technical University of Athens, and this last 4 years I've been working in architectural offices, and currently I'm collaborating with another architect, mostly in interior design projects, which is, let's say, a part-time profession, because my full-time activity is that I'm participating in a master program in visual communication, in which my diploma project has to do with the transition from the analog to the digital through touch, and this touch factor is that brings me back to architecture in a way, because it includes a bodily experience. So through this project I'm trying to figure out how we experience the analog or the physical world and the physical space, and which includes all the senses, and this turns out to another sort of experience in virtual spaces where touch and our body becomes a means for mostly a visual experience. So this whole research and this whole project will try to show how we live in a new era where we are amphibians that all the time pass from one reality to the other, and how our body experience all this procedure.
I graduated in 2011 from Demokritos University of Thrace. I'm currently a PhD candidate at the same university and a freelance architect. Whether I make a living by architecture, not a solid 100%. I mostly do it through artwork and design in various forms. Architecture exists in these parts by the terms on the market, on renovations and aesthetic enhancements of various environments. As we could say, a para-architectural stuff. How I design it and how I define architecture in this period of crisis in Greece is that I find architecture as the medium of experiencing the habitable environment. This is the way I try to find ways to escape from this harsh reality and be active in architecture. This is through an independent academic research group, which I'm part of, or by teaching in my university, or either by taking part in architectural competitions. And as the etymology of the Greek architectural word is to begin a creative process. That's the way we cope with all this situation. I'm Ioannis Dedes, I'm 33 years old and I'm from Aina, an island just an hour from Athens.
Hello, my name is Michalis Stakopoulos and I'm 26 years old and I currently live and work in the Netherlands as an architect. My decision to move and pursue a career abroad was made even before graduating from National Technical University of Athens in 2015. In particular, I am working in the architectural office OPA, Open Platform for Architecture. Truth to be told, I'm working exactly on the field that I studied back in Athens and I'm making my living out of it. I believe that architects are made to design atmospheres and emotions, not just building forms. Personally, I feel that these two notions are really essential from the very beginning of the design process. I perceive architecture as a discourse focusing on the human experience of the building and its surroundings. The personal experience of the space over exceeds architectural styles and the need of labeling. As a team at OPA, we believe in constructive brainstorming and innovative designs, and the motto of the company is that life is too short for designs that people will soon forget. Finally, I want to highlight that the economic crisis was not the main factor that led me to continue a career abroad. In my opinion, our profession is in crisis even before 2010. The way the construction sector is operating the last decades, and in addition to the fact that architecture is allowed to be practiced by all different kinds of engineers, are two major subjects that should emerge, alarm us, and make us think about our future by doing our self-criticism. Thank you very much.
My name is Monica Maragos. I'm 28 years old, and I live in Portland, Oregon, in the United States. I graduated from the architecture school in Athens in 2012, and since then I've never earned money working as an architect. After my studies in Athens, I moved on to Lund University in Sweden, where I got a master's degree in energy efficient and environmental building design. So I got myself specialized in a more technical field, still related to architecture. Now I work as a building enclosure consultant in Portland, Oregon, where I offer advice to architects and construction companies during the design phase and the construction phase, sometimes post-construction if some failures occur, all related to building enclosures. So there is also some building performance modeling involved. The way I see it, my work is still connected to architecture, even though I'm not designing buildings per se, because I do offer advice to design teams and construction teams during different phases of building construction and design. And the way I see it, architecture is and should be a very high-level combination of knowledge from different fields, skills, advancements in technology, all united in a way to create the best possible version of a building.
Hello, I'm Panagiotta Mavridou. I'm 27 years old, and in March 2013 I graduated from the School of Architecture of the National Technical University of Athens. Since September 2013 I've been living in Barcelona, where I originally came to study a Master in Theory and History of Architecture, and I am now preparing to start a PhD, probably also in the same university, in the UPC, Universitat Politecnica de Catalunya. While I'm working as a receptionist until I arrange some scholarship or some funding for my studies. After graduating, coming to Barcelona and having to adapt to a new language and having to somehow inhabit it and make it my own, was a very, very interesting and intellectually stimulating condition. So since I have always had an interest in languages, I incorporated this condition, this experience into my research. I now investigate the relationships between body, language, space and narrative, mostly through literature. I also recently collaborated in the translation of a series of books from Portuguese to Greek. And I am now organizing a small festival of artistic creation inspired in those same books, which is great. Also, I guess this is the most important part of my practices. Is this architecture? I have no idea. Architecture can be so many things. Or am I an architect? I don't even know if I feel an architect. I studied architecture and I enjoyed it a lot, but I have never really properly worked as an architect in an office or a studio, and I'm not quite sure if I actually want to. But however, I read spaces everywhere. I see spaces everywhere as a spatial perspective in everything. And also, what moves me is an impulse to understand the human experience, but for me, both this experience and its understanding pass through space, through architecture. Also, being an architect provides you kind of a strong background that allows you to connect things, to weave links between different disciplines, different subjects, and somehow search for the structure in this chaos of links and connections that we make. So yes, and I also believe that maybe in moments of crisis, this attitude could be a possible way out, an alternative. Instead of creating or producing, taking a step back to reflect, to observe, to question, understand maybe, and then restart.
So, hello, I'm Relu, I'm 27 years old, and I graduated from National Technical University of Athens School of Architecture 2 years ago. That was April 2014. I'm currently based in Berlin, where I work for a very small architectural office, but before coming here to Berlin, I did an internship at an office in Athens, and then I worked for another office. And I have to say that the crisis was evident not only in my underpaid, if at all paid hours, but most importantly to the design outcome. So almost non-existent theoretical justification of the design proposals, too much client intervention, no space for new ideas, no space for experimenting. So I live in this environment, and coming to Berlin 6 months ago, I find that in the small firm that I work, things are more often than not done in a rushed and cost-driven manner. And while there is some room for creativity, certainly it does not come not even close to what I was taught at school, where all design justice had to derive from a solid and coherent thinking process. So the conditions here, the working conditions, are far better than the ones in Greece, and I'm positive that with time and experience I will be able to have a greater influence on the design process and the final outcome. For me, architecture should explore the human condition and should be seen as an experience and not as an image or a render. However, it has been very difficult so far to incorporate this kind of thinking in my professional work. but here's hoping.
Hi, my name is Stella Dimitriou and I currently live and work in Cyprus. After graduating from the National Technical University in Athens in 2012, I obtained my master's degree in Architecture, Energy and Environment from UPC in Barcelona, and I settled back in my home country. During the last year, I've been working part-time as an architect in an architecture office where I deal with small projects, mainly listed buildings, and part-time as an associate researcher in the university. In the university, the project deals with the energy performance indicators of the European housing stock and how this can be used in order to improve the energy refurbishment strategies. I consider that architecture can be approached both theoretically and practically, and thus I believe that I do make my living, up until now at least, by doing architecture, by trying to enhance the living space. Thank you.
My name is Fanny Kosturu, and for the last 3 years I've been living and working in London. I received my diploma as an architect from the National Technical University of Athens in 2012. I continued with a Master of Advanced Studies in Urban Design at the ETH Zurich and a Master of Research in Spatial Design, Architecture and Cities at the Bartlett School of Architecture. Now I'm doing a PhD in Housing and Urban Morphology. I'm fully funded by the EPSRC, the Engineering and Physical Sciences Research Council, which allows me to pay my tuition fees and my living costs. At the same time, I work as a postgraduate teaching assistant, supporting both theoretical and studio-based modules. And whenever there is a project and available funding, I can also work as an architectural research assistant, supporting senior members of staff. I believe architecture is much more than beautiful drawings or beautiful buildings. It is the way we perceive and conceive or live in the built environment. I'm fascinated by the intersections of architecture with the bottom-up knowledge of and acting in the city, and the intersections of architect with other professionals. This is quite prevalent in my educational and design ethos. Over the last years, for example, I've been looking at informal settlements or working class mass housing, generally architecture made out of limited resources. Now I feel fortunate being able to be in academia and learning new things and meeting new people with new ways of thinking. That keeps my horizons very broad. I'm totally inspired by my colleagues or my students who I love to teach and being taught by. And in the future, I would love to keep doing what I'm doing, grow in academia, as well as a designer in small architectural projects, publications, or exhibitions.
Hello, my name is Maria, I'm 27 years old and I live in Salzburg. I graduated in Architectural School of Athens in October 2012, and I live and work here as an architect since August 2013. My official job title is Mountain Specific Architect. That means that I have to deal with constructions in the mountain, from ski centers to the simple chalet or village. We do mainly master planning. The major project that I was a part of in the designing team was the Olympic bid for the Almaty 2022 Winter Olympic Games. And apart from that, we are doing currently a ski center in Russia. We are doing a renovation in a ski center here in Austria. And other than that, we also do other sports center. I'm a very athletic person, so that's why I chose this job. And I love it. It's very good because you do 40 hours a week that you spend on your job, so you have to do something that you like. For me, architecture wasn't just simply making a house for someone else or designing a building, because I know the joy that mountain offers, so I want to do something like that. Architecture is a very big part of my life, as I said, 40 hours a week, but it doesn't define me. For me, it's important that you enjoy your work, but enjoy the rest of your life too.
Hello there, my name is Antonios Tilijanis and I'm approximately 28 years old. I'm a graduate from the Architectural Engineering faculty of the Polytechnic University of Athens, from which I graduated in 2012, and afterwards I pursued from the same establishment a master's degree in urban and regional planning, which I completed in 2014. In the meantime, I was awarded a double scholarship so as to come in Paris and pursue a second master's degree in urban design from the Paris La Villette. Since August 2015, I have been working as an architectural project manager for a small architectural company based in Paris named AI. My primary object is to design the architectural aspects of infrastructural works all over France. My secondary concern is to integrate these projects inside the urban milieu or in the rural environment. It's a very interesting and demanding job. I'm very proud to say that I'm amongst probably the very few lucky ones who actually do something that they like, something that they studied and something in which they specialized. Of course, it's not a bed of roses, and there are also some secondary tasks which are, let's say, more tedious. Because of the crisis, projects are getting fewer and fewer, and that might affect my professional future. In the present, I really enjoy what I'm doing, and I think I've put to good use my architectural knowledge and skills. That's it. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
So, hi guys, I'm Thanos. I'm 28 years old. I live in Athens. I graduated from the National Technical University of Athens in 2014, February, kind of 2 years ago. And right now I live in Athens, as I said, and I work as an architect. Actually, I'm an architect's assistant here in Athens, in Halantri, where I design all the 2D and 3D stuff that we got to do. We're mostly doing renovations of houses, but mostly restaurants, pubs, cafes, cafeterias, small cafeterias, stuff like this. Not very, very interesting. Actually, a bit boring. But I found this job. Money is good, depending on the situation of Greece, Athens in crisis. And for now, I'm working there, and I'm a bit, bored, but satisfied. My situation, my plannings are to try to continue architecture through movies, through cinema. My passion is cinema. I've already done some short-length movies. And I would like in the future to combine architecture with cinema, kind of like a set designer or, a role in the production. I have some knowledge of, the basic stuff of the production, so I might try to combine my architecture knowledge and my architecture, until now, knowledge on programs or on 3D media, on 2D media, on Photoshop or illustrating stuff. I like to combine all these things with cinema, with further studies in cinema. Right now I'm searching for a master in cinematography or production or filming or something that combines all of them. And I'm trying, this period I'm trying to combine my passion and my love for cinema with something more professional means that will allow me to make money out of it and try to live from it and not from architecture, because architecture here in Greece and in Athens is a bit boring. As I said before, architecture in general I think is a bit boring. I mean, architecture as a science not boring, but as a daily practice it's very boring. It could be very boring, especially for a new architect. So I'm trying to combine it with my passion, with something that I love very much, and that's it.
Hello, from Zurich in Switzerland. I am Zoe Alexandropoulou and I am 27. I graduated from the School of Architecture in the National Technical University of Athens in 2013. And after that I worked in 2 offices in Greece, from where I can't really say that I earned money. Anyway, I attended the ETH postgraduate program in urban design in 2014, so yes, I can say that I have been oriented to bigger scale design issues. However, I always believe that good architecture can be reflected and applied in every scale. In Zurich so far, I have worked in 2 offices where someone can earn money, but in terms of architecture, I can assure that the approach is totally different than in Greece, since everything is more technical and less emotional or expressive. And this is somehow controversial, because for me, architecture is sculpting volumes in order to produce life through a system of movements and relations between spaces. Luckily, I have found a way to express my style and architectural identity, mostly through competitions in Greece that I can do with friends even while being here. So, I belong to this generation that the crisis has urged to go away from Greece. But I'm sure that we will return and set new rules and ground for architecture to thrive again. After this Biennale, I hope that something will have changed. Thank you.
My name is Konstantinos Orfeas Genias. I am 26 years old and I got my degree in architecture 2 years ago from the Architectural School of the National Technical University of Athens. I am currently doing my diploma for my postgraduate studies in architectural design, space, culture in the same faculty. I always had a broad interest concerning architecture, which has been ever more important in the late crisis years in Greece, in a struggle to remain relevant in the more situations possible. I've been involved in one way or another, meaning workshops, courses, design projects, with building restoration, landscape design, sustainable architecture, urban strategy issues, informal design, public furniture design, traditional construction techniques, and theoretical studies concerning philosophy and theory of architecture, and the bodies and objects creation of space even. I had a book of mine published in 2012 concerning the lower class architecture of a particular city in Greece and its social and political implications. As a para-architectural activity, I was one of the founders of the Solidarity Drawing Workshop that prepares students with low-income backgrounds to be accepted in technical universities. After my graduation, I was also one of the founders and organizers of Hellastok, a theoretical and construction workshop inspired by Bellastok. I cannot say that I currently live from architecture, though this has been for me a conscious choice. I am working in the Architectural School of Athens as an assistant to the professor for the past 2 semesters in urban and building design and landscape design, and I am also employed in a research program that helps create the future legislation for building environmental sustainability of Greece, but also another that is about to start concerning the municipality of Acharne, which is near Athens, and its revitalization. I periodically give some drawing lessons, guitar lessons, play music in bars or festivals, I've even designed a logo, and I'm currently doing my debut in 3 architectural competitions concerning wood design, road design and landscape design. My goal in architecture, as you can see, is relevance. Architecture, as I understand it, is such a broad and complex practice that extends to nearly everything, that by being relevant in architecture, one can find extensions of himself in everything.
Hello from London. My name is Kyriaki Nassioula.
And I'm Argyris Angeli.
I'm 27 years old and I graduated from the Architecture Department of National Technical University of Athens in 2015.
I'm 30 years old and I graduated from the same school 3 years before in 2012.
Between my architectural studies, I also studied contemporary dance and choreography in National School of Dance in Athens. Then I moved to Germany in the frame of the Erasmus program. Apart from studying architecture in Berlin, I also worked mainly as a dancer and choreographer. I have collaborated as a dancer and performer with various choreographers there, such as Sasa Waltz. As a choreographer, I mostly worked in site-specific pieces.
After graduating from the National Technical University of Athens, I moved to Chicago, where I studied at the Bachelor of Fine Arts in Studio for 2 years at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. Right after graduation, I was working as an instructor at the Continuing Studies Department of the school I graduated from. I was teaching art, design, and architecture courses to middle school students. In addition, I was doing an internship at the Field Museum, the exhibitions department, as a 3D exhibition designer assistant. And in parallel, I was maintaining my art practice, which involves participatory art, performative elements, as well as installations. We met each other at the program that we are both in here at the Architectural Association,
which is called Interprofessional Studio, and it's a Master of Fine Arts in Spatial Performance and Design.
So, you know, you have a very interdisciplinary background. How does architecture inform your practice?
Architecture is reflected in my practice as a compositional tool of space, time and energy, which are the 3 fundamentals of dance. I perceive space as both tangible and intangible. The tangible one has to do with the site where the performative action is situated, and it also has to do with performative structures which are used by the dancers, the human beings. The intangible space is usually the space that the dancers create themselves, or the space that is created between the site and the dancer.
I believe that people have quite a narrow perception of what architecture is. It's usually related to built structures, physical space, buildings, or static constructions. But in my mind, architecture is a result and refers to flows, energies, and events. It is just like literature. It tells stories and it molds the environment, the physical and theoretical space for life to manifest. It's all about human perception, their identities, and their interactions between themselves, but also the space they inhabit. So, in a way, architecture is a social product, and due to its fluidity, it can traverse the boundaries of many creative fields. As far as my personal practice, I use architecture to approach a site. I analyze its physical characteristics in combination with the personality of the community that inhabits it, and then based on that I create installations or performances that are site-specific. And this is what combines our work and why we're here in the same program. And then conceptually, in my mind, I always create forms and structures such as layers or networks, and I use their composition to translate them from the world of ideals to the physical world and create connections between them.
Hi, I'm Vasiliki and I'm 27 years old. I obtained my architecture diploma from National Technical University of Athens in 2013. I currently live in Athens, Greece, after attending for the past 2 years a master program in architectural design at the University of Thessaly in Volos, Greece. The best job I could find as an architect in Athens of crisis is the place of an intern at an architectural office, which means that I cannot make a living from practicing architecture, although I'm able to keep in touch with the subject. What I do for a living is teaching piano to children, which has nothing at all to do with architecture, while I express my creativity through ceramics. Architecture for me is a tool in the service of the user, so the architect should work as the catalyst of the creative process and social dynamics by setting rules and limits under which the user is free to express himself. I tend to believe that incrementality in architecture and participation of the user, suggested also by Aravena and Iacobelli, are the answer to the unlimited ideomorphic but also economically viable variations on the matter of space habitation by introducing the programmatic diversity and personal expressiveness of each individual that otherwise would, for cost reasons, lead to monotony. This definition of architecture expressed in my master thesis is not reflected in my current practice, which mostly includes the morphological correlation of architecture, music, and ceramics.